everyone. Welcome back to Build. I'm your host, Brittany Jones-Cooper. Andrea Barber grew up in front of the world as the quirky next-door neighbor Kimmy Gibbler on Full House. 20 years later, she would reprise that role on the show Fuller House. But in her new book, Full Circle, Barber shares how she spent that time in between, why she initially left Hollywood, and her personal struggles with mental health. Put your hands together for Andrea Barber.
Thank you.
Hi, this is your book cover.
This is amazing.
How cool is that?
It looks so cool, that big.
Yeah.
I'm going to take that home. Can I take this
Yes,
home?
you can. You can take this screen. We have a U-Haul outside for you. It's going to be great. So it's called Full Circle. That sounds sort of self-explanatory, but tell me why you wanted to name your book Full Circle, what that means for you.
Well, I started as a child actor at the age of 5. I did Full House during all of my awkward adolescence, all of those awkward braces, 80s, 90s perm years. And then I left Hollywood for 20 years, and I was just like very normal person working a normal job at a college, and became a mom, and wasn't planning to return to Hollywood until I got the call from Jeff Franklin in 2014, and he said, would you be willing to come back and reprise your role as Kimmy Gibbler? And I was like, sure. So my life has literally come full circle, and literally doing the same character I did when I was 10 years old.
Yeah, and somebody started to clap. We love Kimmy. What does it feel for you to have a character that even 20 years later is still so well received? I mean, that's very rare.
It's awesome. I love Kimmy Gibbler so much. She's such a fun character, and she's such a great role model too. I didn't think this so much when I was a teenager because I didn't have the perspective, but now as a 43-year-old, I'm like, dang, she's cool. She is confident, she's quirky, she's different, and she's strange and sometimes weird, but she owns it, and she loves herself, and she's just herself, and loves herself. And I think that's a great lesson for anyone out there. And I've heard from a lot of people that they looked up to Kimmy Gibbler when they were young because they kind of felt weird or outcast or on the outside. And they said that Kimmy Gibbler was a role model to them in being confident in who you are. And
just really fun comic relief, you know what I mean? She was just so genuine. I always really was drawn to Kimmy. It was really interesting for me because I was such a fan of the show and your character to just learn more about the background. I mean, you have so much detail in this book. Did you keep diary entries? How did you remember all of these stories from that time in your life?
It does read a lot like a diary, doesn't it? I did keep diary entries, actually, not on a traditional, diary with a lock and a key, but, I wrote a lot of letters to myself, and I wrote a lot of draft emails to my ex-husband that I never sent him. So for the particularly painful periods of my life, I did actually have a living record of that, because I've always been a writer. I've been writing stories since I was 7 years old. I majored in English literature in college, so I've always been a writer at heart, and this is the first time I get to be a published writer. So this was just a natural extension of expressing myself through words, where I'm most comfortable. I'm more comfortable writing and expressing myself this way than I am in any other way.
Why do you think that is? You just have kind of more time to sit with your thoughts?
I think it's because I'm introverted. I'm really not like Kimmy Gibbler at all. I'm kind of shy and introverted, and I get nervous very easily, including right now. And
doing a great job.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. All right. My palms are sweaty. So yeah, I don't know. Words just come out more easily through my fingers than they do through my mouth, if that makes sense. I don't know.
I get that.
It's intuitive.
I get that, for sure. I do love all the behind-the-scenes stories. Can you just share what John Stamos' nickname has always been for you? I thought that was fascinating.
What did I say?
Kimmy Gibbler.
oh, for me. Yeah, I thought you meant what I call him. And
oh, no. Well, what do you call him?
I don't know if I can say that. No. We call him Mud. That's his nickname.
Why?
I don't even know. It's been his nickname for 32 years. But yeah, no, he calls me Gibbler to this day. He's just like, Kimmy Gibbler in text too. Sometimes he'll slip. He'll call me Andrea. He's like, oh, wait, no, I mean Gibbler. Just because it's just a funny little thing. Yeah.
And I mentioned you grew up on TV, and you shared these moments that I didn't even think about, like sharing your first kiss and how you went to Lori Loughlin for advice on how to kiss somebody. So when you're going back and reliving those experiences, does it almost feel out of body?
That's the only childhood I know. I only know growing up on Stage 24 at Warner Brothers on the set of Full House. And I had a pretty normal childhood too. I went to regular high school during our hiatus weeks, so I kind of had the best of both worlds. But for me, yeah, that I don't know anything else other than having your first kiss in front of 200 people and your parents. So awkward, but Oh well, that's just how it is.
It sounded like a really exciting time. I was impressed to learn just how hands-on your parents were with like making sure you got to go to school during the week and things like that. But it also seemed like it was the beginning of you recognizing your anxiety and that you would get sick physically before the show. So was that like a common part of your routine, is getting nauseous and that nervous before you had to go tape?
It used to be, yeah. Growing up, I would get very nervous and throw up or dry heave before performances or before any difficult scene where I had a lot of dialogue to remember and I was nervous about it. And I just thought, I was like, okay, that's just me. That's just what I do. And it didn't really become a huge problem until I was into my 20s and 30s. And then it became debilitating, as I write in the book. After I had my second child, Felicity, I had a serious bout of postpartum anxiety and depression and couldn't get out of bed. So that's when I was like, wow, okay, it has a name. It's anxiety. It's diagnosable and it's treatable. And that's kind of where my journey towards healing began.
I thought your story about your postpartum was especially interesting because you thought you couldn't have you got it later, like when your daughter was like 9 months old or something.
Correct.
So what did you learn about postpartum and why was it so important for you to share your personal story through it?
Well, what I learned is you can get postpartum depression or anxiety anytime up until the baby is 1 year old. I thought it was something that happens right after birth when your hormones are fluctuating. But it takes 9 months to grow that baby. So your hormones are going to be out of whack for another 9 months, if not longer. And it wasn't until I went to a routine checkup with Felicity's pediatrician that she noticed it first. It was this female doctor. And she was the first one who asked me, are you okay? Like, enough about the baby. Are you okay? And I kind of told her the things I was going through as far as not sleeping, and I stopped eating for a while, and I couldn't get out of bed. And she said, you have postpartum depression, and you need to treat yourself. And I said, but what about the baby? I needed, the baby, and I didn't want to go on any antidepressants or any other medication because I'm like, I'm breastfeeding, and the baby. And she said, your health is more important than the baby's right now because if she doesn't have a mother, then she's in trouble.
So what was your journey of deciding to talk about your issues with postpartum and anxiety, given that Kimmy is this larger-than-life, quirky, very positive character? I mean, did that give you any extra hesitation about sharing your personal struggles?
No, for some reason, I didn't hesitate at all to share these. I think it's because I've been in talk therapy for over 10 years. I've reached a really good place in my life. I'll always have anxiety. It's not like I'm cured of it. It's not something that can ever be cured. But I feel more confident about it. And by sharing my story, I've reached this level of acceptance about it. Because for a long time, I hated this part of myself. And I hated it and I wanted to will it away, and I was so mad at myself for being like this. I felt incapacitated by it, and I hated this large part of me because it was such a big part of me. But when I finally regained control and got healthy again, I accepted it, and I'm like, okay, this is me. This is me, and I have anxiety, and if you love me and you want to get to know me, then you'll accept this about me, and I have no shame about it anymore. I did feel a lot of shame. There was a lot of stigma around mental health at the time, 12 years ago. There still is. I mean, it's getting better, but there's still a lot of hesitation, I think, for people to share their story. And a lot of people are like, you're so brave to share your journey with mental health, and I appreciate that sentiment so much. But we shouldn't have to feel brave. We shouldn't have to feel like we have to suit up and be brave. Like, we should just be able to feel open enough to share, because that's just being human. That's not being brave. That's just, I'm human and I want to share what I'm going through with someone else, and we should all have the freedom to feel that.
During the time when Full House wrapped up, it seemed like you were just very happy to sort of leave Hollywood. Like, it wasn't a huge conundrum for you. Why do you think that was? Why was it so easy for you to say, like, okay, that chapter's closed, I'm going to go live my life?
I never formally made the decision like, oh, I'm leaving Hollywood and I'm never going back. I just discovered new interests. Full House ended at a great time for me because I was a freshman in college. So I was like, woohoo, I'm going to move into the dorms and I'm going to study everything. And I eventually became an English literature major. And I studied abroad in Copenhagen, Denmark for a semester, which led to me getting a master's degree in in York, England for a year. So I discovered this passion for traveling and studying abroad, and that's what eventually became my career after college, was working as a study abroad administrator at Whittier College, helping other students have the same transformative experience I did abroad. And I was very fulfilled by that. I just never felt the need to go back to Hollywood. I was like, I'm happy with my private life, so I don't need to go back.
So then Fuller House comes around. Was that a hard decision to make for you to come back?
Not at all. No. Jeff Franklin called me one Sunday and he asked, we're thinking about doing this reboot. Would you be willing to play Kimmy Gibbler again? And I didn't even hesitate to say yes. And that surprised me too, because I'd been out of the business for 20 years. And I thought, can I even do this anymore? Like, do I need to take acting classes?
I would just have this like, okay, you have to find Kimmy again.
And I didn't. It was like I just stepped on the stage and started reading the script, and it just came back to me. It's like muscle memory, because I did this character for 8 years as a child. It's kind of like learning a language when you're a child. Your brain is so absorbent, like a sponge, that I guess I just absorbed Kimmy Gibbler, and she's forever a part of my DNA.
Yes. And now I saw that you guys, you wrapped the final episode of Fuller House.
We did, just 4 days ago.
Yeah. Have you had some time to kind of process that? Has it been different to wrap it kind of the second time?
It was different the second time around. The first time around on Full House, we didn't know we were being canceled until just a couple of weeks before we taped that final episode. That's why it's kind of a weird episode with Michelle gets amnesia and falls off horse. So it was kind of we didn't really get that closure that we were hoping for, because the writers had to write that finale super quick, like within a couple of weeks. So it was really, really satisfying. As much as we don't want the show to end, it was great to be able to know it ahead of time and be able to write a whole season leading up into the finale, which is a very satisfying series finale. You guys are going to love it. It's very emotional. I cried all day on Friday taping it, and no, I haven't been able to process it yet. It's a good thing that I jumped right on a plane to New York, because this is sort of keeping my mind busy and keeping me from getting too sad about that.
Why was it so sad? Was it that it was ending? Was it a reunion? Did everybody kind of come back? Like, what was that experience like for you on set with everyone?
It's sad because we're such a huge family, and that's not just the cast. That extends to our whole crew. Our assistant directors, our makeup and our hair people, the lighting guys. Like, we love all of them so much, and we love working together every day. And I know this isn't goodbye. Like, we're all going to see each other, and I'm sure we'll go out bowling or something fun. But we're going to miss working together every day. When you're working on a sitcom like that, sometimes you see your TV family more than you see your real family. So we spend a lot of time together, and it was such a blessing to come back and be these characters again, and to sit on that couch again. I mean, it felt like going home, and it was such a blessing to do it. And we're so sad to say goodbye to these characters. I feel like we could have gone for several more years and had a lot more stories to tell about these characters' lives. So it's
Fullest House,
Hey, Fullest House, Golden Girls style. I'll be a grandma. Grandma Gibbler, sign me up.
Grandma Gibbler, that's a spinoff, guys. I'd watch that.
Let's put it out into the universe. Anybody listening?
I know you posted a photo. I saw a photo. I forget where. Maybe it was in the book of you, your mom, and your daughter sitting on the iconic couch. And they were both extras on the show at some point. Does your daughter have that same kind of acting bug, or was that just something fun for her to participate in?
That was just something fun for her to participate in. She has the personality to be an actress. She's a little spitfire. She's a lot like me, but she doesn't have the interest in doing it. And she realized being an extra that day on the set. She's done it twice, actually. She's like, this was a really long day, Mom. Like, we had to get up at 5 a.m. and then I worked for 8 hours, and it's a lot of sitting around and just waiting for people to reset the cameras. And I'm like, yep. That was my childhood right there. So that was just a fun thing for her to do. And sitting and taking that picture with my mom and my daughter on that couch was a very full circle moment, because my mom was the one that drove me to set to stage 24 every day for 8 years of Full House. And so it was just a great moment to share that with both my mom and my daughter.
It's a really special photo and such a cool moment. When I saw that, I was like, that would be a full circle moment.
Totally.
So cool. We do have a question or two before we get out of here.
Yeah,
Who has
sure.
the first one? Let's go right here. Oh.
There's someone back there.
Oh, back there.
Hey, Andrea.
Hi.
So you've been lucky enough to be able to reprise the role of Kimmy Gibbler 20 years later. So I was wondering, what was the best life lesson as Kimmy Gibbler in the past for Full House and Fuller House for now, currently?
Oh, gosh. The best life lesson from Kimmy Gibbler from Full House is to never let your friend dye your hair or perm your hair. Because remember, I ended up with that like red, crazy hair. So that would be life lesson number one. From Fuller House, I think, yeah, it goes back to what I said before, just to be confident and be yourself and find your tribe, find your people that love you for who you are. And anybody that doesn't accept you for who you are is not worth your time. That's the lesson.
Preach. Edward is the man from Twitter asks, what can we expect from the final season of Fuller House?
It's a very full season. It's 18 episodes. Netflix is going to release it in 2 parts. So you're going to see the first 9 episodes sometime soon. They haven't announced the date yet, but it should be coming shortly. And then you'll have to wait a full year to see the back 9 episodes. I know.
Full year?
I know.
He hates when Netflix does that.
I'm not the boss. I'm just the actor. But it's a great season. I can't give you any storyline spoilers, but I will tell you it was extra special for me because I got to write an episode of Fuller House. It's episode number 13. It's titled College Tours. So I took a little bit of my own life experience writing for that episode. And Jodie Sweetin directed an episode for the first time as well. And Candace came back and directed 2 more episodes. So, I mean, it was great. Talk about female empowerment. It was just so cool to be able to get this opportunity and just bring our skills to the table and learn even more skills and feel the safe space to be able to do that.
Did that inspire you at all to jump back in the arena as far as writing for another show or acting on another show or doing, something else in the industry?
Yeah, I would love to.
Okay.
I wouldn't have, I think I've come to the same conclusion I came to when I was 18, in that if the right show comes along, like Fuller House or something equally wonderful.
Like Grandma Gibbler?
Like Grandma Gibbler. Yeah, I would not hesitate to jump back into my acting shoes. But if the right show doesn't come along, I'll be perfectly happy and fulfilled living a private life again too. And writing, yeah, sure, it's a whole different can of worms, writing in a writer's room, because there's a lot of team writing going on. It's not like I did the whole thing by myself. I wrote the first draft and then everybody punched it up with their own jokes. So that was a really neat thing to experience.
Full experience.
Yeah.
And one last question.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
What's some advice to someone that's just starting their struggle with anxiety, like tips to try to curb it?
Sure, I can tell you what helped me. I mean, I'm not a medical professional, but I do share in my book all of my little tricks and tips that help me. First of all, find a great therapist. It's not always easy. Sometimes it's like dating, and you got to shop around a little bit before you find the right person. I went through 3 therapists before I found my current therapist. I've been with her now for over 10 years. She's great. I love her. And so I ask friends, or maybe even ask your doctor. My OBGYN is who recommended my therapist to me. So first thing, find a therapist, someone you can talk to. Exercise, whether that's going for a walk outside every day and getting fresh air and sunlight, that's great. Or just find whatever it is. If it's playing tennis or going swimming, just find your type of movement that makes you happy. And eat well, sleep well. Like, sleep is so critical. I value my sleep so much. It's really a lifestyle change, like people who have diabetes they need to manage it every day with their lifestyle changes. They don't, just go off the rails. So it's the same thing with anxiety and depression. You have to manage it every single day. So I think that's the best thing. I also meditate, and I have, by sharing my story, I've learned so much. People are DMing me and sending me messages about their own stories and their own struggles, and that's so healing for me to know that there's a tribe of us out there. There's this community, and we have this safe space where we can share our stories and know that anxiety and depression does not discriminate. It doesn't matter if you are a celebrity or not, rich or poor, young or old. It doesn't discriminate. We all are going through the same thing, and we have to be there for each other.
Because it feels isolating by nature, right? That's
Absolutely.
what anxiety and depression does to you. So I think the more you talk about it and share that it can be a really common experience is extra important.
Extra important,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's a good message.
I have one more.
Yeah.
Where is it at?
Hi, Andrea.
Hi.
I wanted to know if you and Kimmy have any similarities, and if so, what are they?
If me and Kimmy have any similarities? Gosh, not really. I mean, our fashion sense is different, although today I'm wearing kind of a bold pattern, so I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. Kimmy loves her daughter more than anything and would do anything for Ramona. And so in that sense, we're very similar because I love my kids more than they're my everything, and I would do anything for them. And I'm going to be very sad when they move away to college, which is kind of a theme for season 5 of Fuller House, is that Kimmy's trying to accept the fact that her little bird is leaving the nest. So that's the way we're similar.
Well, I just want to thank you for being so candid in your book. I mean, I really do feel like I got to know you outside of your character, which I think is really cool at this point, just to have a better understanding of who you are and how that informed the character we've all grown to love so much. So thank you for writing the book. Thank you for sharing your story. And you guys should check it out. Full Circle is available now wherever books are sold. Put your hands together for Andrea Barber.
Thank you. Thanks.